They never marched at dawn without permission. Before steel met flesh. Before banners moved. Before the first command was shouted. Ancient armies stopped. They waited. Fires were lit in precise patterns. Silence spread across thousands of bodies. Names were whispered to gods that could not be seen. Blood touched the earth, not as violence, but as communication. Because in the ancient world, war was not a human decision. It was a cosmic request. And this film reveals the rituals performed before ancient wars, rites never filmed, rarely written, and deliberately hidden, because victory was believed to be decided before the first weapon was ever raised. In the modern world, war begins with orders, strategies, and logistics. In the ancient world, war began with fear. Not fear of the enemy. Fear of what could happen if war was started incorrectly. Ancient civilizations believed the universe was balanced by invisible forces, gods, ancestors, spirits, fate, cosmic law. War disrupted that balance violently. Killing without permission was believed to invite famine, plague, rebellion, and collapse. This belief crossed continents. In Mesopotamia, kings wrote that wars lost divine favor before they lost soldiers. In China, armies were delayed for months awaiting celestial approval. In Greece, entire campaigns were cancelled because omens failed. In Mesoamerica, war was seen as a ritual necessity to feed the cosmos, but only if done correctly. War was never just political. It was existential. And that is why priests, shamans, augurs, and seers stood above generals. Because no army marched unless the unseen world agreed. Before any army moved, the future had to be consulted. This was not symbolic. It was operational. Mesopotamia. Reading the liver. In ancient Mesopotamia, the liver was believed to be the seat of divine communication. Priests sacrificed animals and examined the organ in extreme detail. Every mark, vein, discoloration, or tear was mapped to a meaning. Clay liver models discovered by archaeologists show how advanced this system was. Each section represented a god, a risk, or a possible outcome. One bad sign could cancel an invasion entirely. Kings delayed wars not because they lacked courage, but because the liver warned them. China, oracle bones and fire. In Shang Dynasty China, oracle bones were heated until they cracked. The sound, shape, and direction of the fractures were interpreted as answers from ancestors and cosmic forces. The questions were specific. Will we win? Will the king survive? Will heaven withdraw support? If the answer was unfavorable, the army did not march. Rome, birds decide fate. Roman augurs watched birds at dawn. Flight direction, formation, and cries determined whether Mars favored the campaign. A single failed augury could delay legions for weeks. To ignore the birds was to invite disaster. Divination was not superstition. It was a decision-making system that controlled empires. Once permission was sought, the army had to be cleansed. Because impurity was believed to infect victory itself. Soldiers fasted for days. Hunger weakened the ego and sharpened obedience. Cold water immersion shocked the body into alertness. Sexual abstinence was enforced to preserve aggression and focus. In Greece, polluted soldiers were removed. In Rome, entire units were purified with smoke and salt. In Africa and Asia, ritual bathing erased civilian identity. This was psychological preparation. The soldier had to stop being a man. He had to become an instrument. Blood was not violence. Blood was language. Across cultures, blood offerings were made to awaken divine attention. Aztec sacrifice. The Aztecs believed the sun required nourishment. Before war, captives were sacrificed so the sun would rise after battle. Without blood, the cosmos itself could collapse. Celtic offerings. Celts sacrificed animals at dawn. Blood was poured over weapons to bind them to victory. A sword without blood was considered asleep. Greek dual sacrifice. Greeks offered black animals to underworld gods and white animals to Olympians. The type of enemy determined which gods required blood. War without blood payment was suicide. Before marching, warriors swore oaths. Not promises. Curses. Hands were cut and joined in blood. Names were carved into stone. Gods were invoked as witnesses. Breaking an oath meant madness, exile, or death, even after victory. Oaths ensured loyalty beyond fear. Rituals erased individuality. Masks removed identity. War paint dissolved the face. Drums synchronized heartbeats. Chanting collapsed fear into rhythm. The soldier no longer fought as a man, but as a force. This was controlled psychological transformation. Many armies observed a final silence. No speech. No fire. No movement. It was believed the dead were listening. Fear peaked here. And fear was transformed into obedience. Wars were cancelled for eclipses, earthquakes, broken idols, or animals refusing sacrifice. History records armies turning back hours before victory, out of terror. Ignoring signs destroyed civilizations. These rituals unified belief, reduced doubt, focused violence, and controlled chaos. The war was decided psychologically before it was fought physically. Civilizations that ignored ritual fell fastest. Because ancient people understood something modern wars forget. Victory begins in the mind, and the mind obeys belief.